Welcome to the Week 7 post-game show. The playoffs are rapidly approaching. Some teams have 2 games left. Some teams have 3 games left. But Jeremy and I are here to break it down. Jeremy, how's it going, man?
It's doing well. Doing well this cold morning.
Yeah, cold is an understatement. That's why you have to get the Legacy League hoodie. Keep you nice and warm. I'm just gonna start, representing and only wearing Legacy League stuff. It's totally fine. But speaking of Legacy Leagues, 2 undefeated teams squared off last night. We'll start right there. Lob City and the Swish Kebabs. Lob City was able to get the win by 7. A very close game, a back-and-forth game. I know Swish had the lead at times, but never was really able to break it open. Jeremy was courtside for that one. Jeremy, what'd you see? I mean, your first time, maybe your second time seeing Lob City, in a game, but what'd you see from the Swish Kebabs and Lob City last night?
Well, I think that when Joey Coro is normally so unstoppable defensively and really puts a pressure on other teams driving, but he wasn't much of a force this game. Players like Del Butler and Greg Bell, they're really able to use their size and score over him. Coro only finished with 6 rebounds and 0 blocks, and usually he's good for 10 and 3 blocks or something like that. But he couldn't really, he's not used to guys that size being able to dribble the ball and score over him. So I think that was a factor for sure. And nobody on Lob City really went off for more than 20 points. Cody Crawford had a team high 18. Players like Victor Cashew only had 12. So I think Lob City, they were, I think, maybe surprised how close it was, because it was a close game at one point. It was tied a few times. It was within 5 for most of the game. So definitely the game of the week.
Yeah, definitely lived up to the hype, and possibly a finals rematch, possibly a semifinals rematch. 2 of the good, better teams in the league that aren't going to lose often. So when they play, someone does have to lose. Let's go to Boom Shakalaka and Duyes boys. Boom Shakalaka does get the win, 81-73. It was tied in the final minute on I believe it was an Aaron Avant 3. I think so. Someone hit a 3 on Duyes boys, down 3 to tie it with a minute to go. And then, Boom Shakalaka executed down the stretch. Huge fourth quarter. They found themselves trailing after being on the wrong side of a big third quarter by the Duyes boys. What from the box score stands out to you?
Jeremy D'Amico on Boom Shakalaka's had the team high 32 points. He was never really, with Mark Belleville and Lucas Martin both on the floor, he's probably the third option there. But he was 15 for 24. I think he's not obviously the biggest guy in the league, but he is one of those big men. He can also shoot threes, but I think the Duyes boys don't really have much size to compete with that. So again, I didn't see the game, but I imagine that he was able to get a lot of rebounds. He had 12, a lot of putbacks, and was just able to kind of use the size to rack up a lot of points.
Yeah, he was a huge factor in John Kutu, 19 points, 18 rebounds, 4 steals, and 10 assists, so a triple-double. But you look at, that stat line, you're like, wow, all right, kid was padding the stats, 8 for 24 from the field, only 2 for 10 from 3. So when he's shooting like that and his team is still able to be in it, it's even more impressive for the Duyes boys. We know how important Kutu is to that team, and that says a lot about that team, that they were able to be in a tied game with a minute to go, and their best player, shooting 2 of 10 from 3 and 8 for 24 from the field. Let's move on. We'll save the best for last. Werewolves and Pizza Rolls up next, 74-57. The Werewolves do get the win. It was the nightcap. We had some rearranging going on. These 2 teams were not supposed to play this week, but weather happens. Coldness happens. And so the Werewolves do get the win over the Pizza Rolls. You saw this one. I don't know if Gino – I don't think anybody had a really, really good game for the Werewolves, but they all kind of did enough to get the win.
Yeah, I agree. Gino and Heston are both very talented, but I don't know if either of them are good enough to go off for 30 at any given game. Obviously, they could, and I hope they prove me wrong because they're fun to watch. But this was actually a closer game than I thought it would be. In the first half, it was 35-25, which is – it's still anyone's game at that point. And Rocco Lombardi on the Pizza Rolls, he's really the best player. He's got enough height and shooting touch to kind of score anywhere on the court. He finished with 27, 12 for 25. But unfortunately, in this league, if you're kind of the only guy, he put up 25 field goal attempts. That's 11 more than the next guy. If you're the only guy on your team that can put the ball in the hoop, you're going to struggle. So he wasn't able to bring them within striking distance after the first half, I should say.
Yeah, and despite the score, it was closer. Never really, I would say after halftime, never really a threat of the Pizza Rolls winning. But it was around that 15-point mark, which I guess we and others would have expected it to be larger than that. Speaking of large margins, Halfway Crooks 121, Skyhookers 81. Yeah, 4 players with 20-plus points. You got, you were asking me kind of after the game who Brett Cody was, and so now you know. What about the Skyhookers? I mean, I forget who I was talking to last night. Might have been somebody helping me edit articles. I believe it was when the Halfway Crooks shoot 63% from the field and 45% from 3. It does feel like every shot is going in, and that's kind of what it felt like from me on the floor. Did it feel the same from you watching?
Absolutely. It felt like every 3 was going in. Brett Cody is a underrated athlete. He probably had like 8 dunks this game, both alley-oops and self-administered. But talking with Cruz and Jared, we'd like to think you, Mr. Commissioner, are similar to Klay Thompson, because you can rack up points without even dribbling. 8 for 13. You're on a roll right now, and playing a team like Lobsitter Swish, I think they're going to need you to hit 8 threes to stay in it. But the Skyhookers missing the Allman Brothers, that's a lot of size and defense that could have slowed you down. So that was, I think Chase Allman's probably the most talented and most valuable player for the Skyhookers. So without him, they took a hit. Although Brendan O'Donnell, it was 27 points. He helped out, but it wasn't enough to defeat the Crooks, who were just on fire that game.
Yeah, I appreciate the Klay Thompson love, and I think it's hilarious. I don't lead the league in many stats, but I think, and no, Cody Crawford dribbles a lot, so I can actually probably safely say I would lead the league in dribbles per point. I think, and being the lowest, which is what you want. Well, I don't know if you want to be, whatever, but I think I would lead the league if we decided to sort it that way. So I'll take it. You can't win them all.
You should get an intern to just focus on that stat for the season. It'd be pretty hard, but one guy can do it.
Just follow me around.
Points per dribble, yeah.
Yeah, points per dribble. I love it. Hey, you're being compared to Klay Thompson. He's about to be a very rich man.
Yes,
I believe this summer or next summer. So it's a good comparison. We'll wrap it up very quickly. I know it's an early morning post-game show, but what is one thing that we didn't talk about or that you want to talk about more from week 7 before we go?
Ooh. I'd like to think Boom Shakalaka really seemed pretty dominant, and from what I've heard from Cruz, they were really, really good last season, and they got the win this week, so they're good. But it does seem like they've struggled a little bit, and they've missed guys. They only had 4 this week, but it does seem like I really thought that maybe they would beat the Duyes boys by more than they did, and I didn't see the game, so there could just been a stretch where the Duyes boys were really hot, but. Yeah, I'm a little surprised Boom Shakalaka has slipped slightly in the past few weeks compared to how they started. Yeah,
and for sure. They're going to be a team you don't want to play in the playoffs, but it's going to be nice when they have more than 4 guys. I'll just say, while we have a second, John Kutu for MVP, those hopes are fading quickly. That was a win that they would have needed for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said on Twitter, despite the name of the award, it goes to the best player on a good team.
Yeah.
So right now, Duyes boys, you better get winning. Drop the mic. All right, so that's a wrap. Just to make some enemies real quick. That's a wrap for the Week 7 post-game show. Jeremy, very good job.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys. We have top plays, podcast, all that good stuff coming. Playoffs are right around the corner, and it may be cold, but the legacy leagues are just heating up. Yeah, I was saving that one. All right, see you guys. That's it for the Week 7 post-game show. We'll see you next week.